This is the July 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Chatham County-Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission. The Planning Commission consists of Ms. Karen Jarrett, Chairwoman, Mr. Travis Coles, Vice Chairman, Mr. Tom Wildwoody, Secretary, Ms. Lorraine Bowles, Treasurer. Board members are Mr. Dwayne Stevens, Ms. Tracy Amma, Mr. Joseph Irvine, Mr. Michael Kagler, Miss Amanda Wilson, Mr. Jay Melder, Mr. Jeff Nortricia, Mr. Joseph Welch, Miss Corinne Ross, and Mr. Stephen Pluck. The MPC Executive Director is Melanie Wilson.
Regular meeting of the Chatham County-Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission will now come to order. We will pause for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For staff, petitioners, and members of the public who are participating, our procedures will be as follows. The agenda is broken down into several parts. First, notices, proclamations, and acknowledgments. Next, the consent agenda, which consists of items for which the applicant is in agreement with staff recommendation and there are no known objections. This will be followed by regular business, old business, and adjournment. For each agenda item on regular business, the staff will make a presentation. The staff presentation will then be followed by a presentation from the petitioner should they elect to do so. The petitioner will be allotted a time frame of no more than 20 minutes. The board may then ask questions of the petitioner or staff for clarification. Afterwards, the floor will be open for public comment. If you wish to comment on the item that the board is considering at the time, members of the public that are in person must fill out a blue speaker card and give it to staff. If you are participating virtually, use the raise your hand feature on your screen. Do not use the feature until the item you want to comment on is being considered. At the appropriate time, you will be recognized and staff will unmute your microphone. At the end of your allotted time, as determined by the chair, your microphone will be muted and the chair will recognize the next speaker. The total public comment time will be less than or equivalent to the petitioner's presentation time. Therefore, for those participating online, it is important to use your raise your hand feature during the hearing on that item if you want to speak on a petition. Once the floor is closed for public comment on a petition, no additional public speakers will be allowed. If you are not certain you want to speak, still use the raise your hand feature, or if in person, fill out the speaker card. You will have the option to decline when your name is called. After public comment, the petitioner will have the opportunity for rebuttal and then address any additional needed questions by the board. Finally, the board will take action. I want to take just a second to thank the county for providing us with the facility. We have some electrical problems over in our normal spot, so we appreciate their help. And I will start off with an approval of the agenda.
Coles, motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Voice vote, please. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. There are no notices, proclamation, or acknowledgments. There are several items that were requested to be removed from the final agenda. A general development plan with a variance at 1202 East 69th Street and 1206 East 68th Street. Is there anyone in the audience who is here for that agenda item? All right. The next one is a general development plan with a variance at 4219 Bull Street and 4307 Bull Street, 20 West 59th Street and 20 West 60th Street. Is there anyone here for that agenda item? Okay, that has been, they've requested to have it removed from the agenda. We probably will go ahead and agree with that, and it'll probably be the next agenda, next meeting that we hear that. All right, comprehensive plan, future land use map amendment at 2514 Whitaker Street. Is there anyone here for that agenda item? Okay, and then a map amendment request to rezone from TN2 to TC1 2514 Whitaker Street. All right, do I have a motion?
Cole's motion to remove items 1 through 4 from the final agenda.
Stevens, second.
All right, all in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ma'am, if you get with staff, they can let you know when this comes back about. They can contact you. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, items requested to be withdrawn. No items requested to be withdrawn. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the June 11th, 2024 meeting minutes and the approval of the July 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. We also have a major subdivision, Beacon Point Phase 1A at 3401A Highgate Boulevard, and approval of a specific development plan with variance at 5792 Ogeechee Road. Does anyone have any desire to remove those from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion?
Cole's motion to approve the consent agenda.
Bowles, second.
All right. Voice vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we're at regular business, and we have a comprehensive plan, future land use map amendment for 2505 and 2521 Fort Argyle Road, number 24-003509-CA. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. Am I live here? Can y'all hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. Guess I just have to get close. I need 2 of them, wow. Edward Morrow, Director of Development Services here at the MPC. Very nice to see you all today. This is the first item on our regular business agenda. It's a request to amend the future land use map for the properties at 2505 and 2521 Fort Argyle. You can see an aerial image of the properties. The request is to amend the future land use map from residential suburban single family to commercial suburban. Here, just to orient everyone, we are on Fort Argyle Road near the intersection with Highgate Boulevard heading into New Hampstead and Middle Landing Road in the other direction. And this is a couple of parcels that are at that intersection. They currently contain an older kind of a convenience store. Down on the right side, you can see on approach to this intersection, there's the new Parker's gas station with the subject parcels directly across the street. And so here is the future land use map, and you can see zoning in association with the current municipal lines, showing you where the unincorporated county is in association to the city of Savannah. The subject parcels were rezoned from residential agriculture to BN, or neighborhood business, by the Chatham County Commission at its November 8th, 2019 meeting, and that's following the recommendation of approval from this board on September 17th, 2019. At that time, the commission did not elect to change the future land use designation, and so there's currently a petition to annex these parcels into the city of Savannah in association with a proposed self-storage mini warehouse development. And in order for these parcels to be consistent with the zoning ordinance once they are brought in on annexation, there's a requirement to change the future land use map designation. And so that is why this petition is before you today. Just to give you an overview, the requested future land use designation is that of suburban commercial. And this character area is described in Plan 2040 as consisting of areas that are automobile-oriented commercial centers that contain community and regional shopping and service needs. And it's the area that encompasses and located along several major thoroughfares. And so Fort Argyle is definitely meeting that description. Again, the subject parcels are the subject of a pending annexation. They have not gone through. And this future land use designation is required to bring them into conformance with the zoning ordinance. It's notable that commercial or mixed-use development of any significant scale on these parcels is going to require provision of water and sewer services. And being brought into the city, these would be in proximity of those facilities located on the other side of Fort Argyle. And so ultimately, I think it's important that this board understands that whether developed in Chatham County or the city of Savannah, the site will ultimately be required to go through a specific development plan review. And denial of the request would most likely result in the site's development in accordance with all applicable Chatham County development standards, as it currently has the zoning designation appropriate for the proposed use within Chatham County. Again, just to offer some context, this is the New Hampstead master plan that you can see. And in the red box, you can see the location of these parcels. The C1 and C2 designate that these are areas that are already designated for commercial use within New Hampstead. For anyone that is interested, attached to this agenda item, you are able to see the uses, the commercial uses that are approved here in these pods, and also the county's BN zoning permitted uses in this district, so that you can understand what shape this particular developing commercial node might take in the future, and understand the types of uses that you would see. With that, MPC staff does recommend approval of the request, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record.
Donald Dykes.
Would you like to add anything?
No, I think you did a very good job of presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer any of them, but I think the presentation's been adequate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the petitioner? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm Tommy Danos. I'm his broker.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner or for staff? All right, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this matter? Any discussion among commissioners? Open for a motion.
Cole's motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Stevens, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Amick? Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Coles?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Notrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Whitewoody?
Yes.
I too say yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for y'all's service. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our second item is a comprehensive plan future land use map amendment at 0 William Street, 24-003649-CA.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and the members of the board. My name is Subhashi Karunaratna, a planner from the MPC, presenting findings and staff recommendation for the comprehensive plan future land use map amendment.
Excuse me, if there's any way you can speak louder, it would be helpful. We're having a really tough time. We had a tough time with Mr. Norton.
Okay,
So-
sorry. Is that loud enough? Okay.
A little better.
Okay. So I would like to note that this applicant is also requesting a zoning map amendment, and it will be heard after this item. The subject property is located at 0 William Street. The applicant is requesting for a future land use map amendment from residential general to traditional commercial. The subject property is marked with the red square on the map right here, and it is located about 300 feet east from Grayson Stadium and Duffin Park, and about 500 feet south of Victory Drive. And to the east of the parcel, you can see the Truman Parkway. The subject parcel is currently undeveloped, and the proposed land use is townhouses. According to the comprehensive plan, the existing flume is residential general, and the existing zoning is RSF 6, and it only allows residential use of single-family detached. It does not allow any multifamily residential uses or commercial uses. The surrounding area of the property has flume designations of residential general, commercial suburban, traditional commercial, and civic and institutional. To the west of the parcel, you can see there are two traditional commercial parcels with the flume designation of traditional commercial. Historically, the development pattern had been for mixed of residential and commercial uses south of East Victory Drive. The Victory Drive corridor is experiencing growth and in both commercial and residential development. The site's proximity to Grayson Stadium further contributes to the area's growth and densification. According to Plan 2040, the parcel is within the urban transitional character area where medium to high residential density is anticipated. Now you're looking at a map that is extracted from Stadium Expansion Parking Study, which was conducted by the MPC with the sponsorship from City's Parking Services Department. And according to the study, the area with the subject property marked in the red box right here is identified as under pressure. The hatched area is the part that is under pressure. And what this means is that the current land use to the east of Daffin Park is a mix of multifamily and single-family residential, commercial, vacant commercial and residential, and institutional uses. Within the area east of the park, development pressure on remaining single-family, the RSF6, and the institutional uses are likely to see conversion in the coming years. And this map right here shows a more detailed view of the types of development in the vicinity. And on this slide, you can see the concept plan with the three townhouse units. And in order to build according to this concept plan, the flume designation have to be amended to traditional commercial. And based on the findings and evaluations, the MPC staff recommends approval of the requested amendment of the flume to traditional commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name's Ellen Harris. I'm with, excuse me, Ethos Preservation, and I'm here with the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. James Silver. They just want to tell you a little bit about what their proposal includes, and then I'll answer any specific questions that you have.
All right.
Hi, thank you for your time today. The developer,
Can you please state your name for the record?
James Silver, J Silver Properties.
You can pull that microphone up if you'd like.
Thank you. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build these 3-unit townhouses, but one of them is actually going to become our home, and the other two as an investment with us on that property. So we actually plan to move into this. It's going to be just simple 2-story townhomes with rear entry garage. So we keep the neighborhood looking the way we found it, and we're hopeful to be able to move into the neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant or staff? Go ahead.
I'm just trying to, with them being townhomes is what you're proposing, I'm just curious as to what is the motivation for it being a commercial zoning versus a residential zoning?
So one of the key factors was just simply that TC1 already existed across the street. We did look at the RMF districts, residential multifamily, which also exist. The issue with those districts is that they have much more suburban setback requirements. It has a 20-foot front yard setback, which really doesn't fit in with the character of that area at all. Some of the other districts that we looked at, like the TN districts, the TN1 district is specifically spelled out in the ordinance as only for the Victorian district, and the TN2 district is specifically spelled out as only for the streetcar historic district. So if we went with those, we'd also be having to do a text amendment, which could potentially have implications throughout the city. And so it just seemed appropriate that TC1 was the most logical.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to get some clarification because if the objective is townhomes, it just seemed a little weird for it to be requested to be zoned commercial for me.
Understood.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, I kind of am curious, what about a TR district?
So the TR districts, the TR1 and the TR3 does not allow for multifamily, and then TR1 and TR2, and if you excuse me, I left my notes at my desk, but there was an issue with the TR districts as well. If you can give me a second, I'll go grab them.
Okay.
I believe that the TR districts are too limited in terms of their density to allow for the 3 units on this size.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this item? All right. Discussion? Motion?
Cole's motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Bowles second.
All right. Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Coles?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Notrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Wywoody?
Yes.
All right, I too say yes. So motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They got to do the next one.
Oh, yes, they do. Our next agenda item is a map amendment request to rezone from RSF 6 to TC 10 Williams Street.
Madam Chair and the members of the board, I'm Subhashi Karnaratna again. This is the zoning map amendment of the same property, 0 William Street. The petitioner is requesting the rezoning of the subject parcel from RSF 6, single-family residential 6, to traditional commercial 1, to the use of undeveloped land as townhouses. The intent of the RSF 6 district is to preserve and establish areas of single-family detached homes on lots of at least 6,000 square feet in size. And the district does not allow the multifamily use that is proposed by the applicant. The proposed zoning TC1 district was established to ensure the vibrancy of historic mixed-use neighborhoods and traditional development pattern, and it allows the townhouses as proposed. Allowance of the TC1 development on the parcel would permit the addition of new multifamily units, addressing the need in the city and the county for additional housing. As mentioned before, in the parking study, the area is under pressure to be densified and developed further. And based on all the findings that I mentioned before and here, the MPC staff recommends approval of the request to rezone the subject parcel from RSF 6 to TC1 under the following conditions. The development of the site shall be consistent with the conceptual plan submitted and reviewed in association with the application for a zoning map amendment. Future redevelopment of the site for any TC1 use shall require MPC review and approval of a general development plan. Also, a Type A buffer shall be installed along every property line where the townhome development adjoins a single-family residential parcel. And for reference, there's a picture of the buffer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good afternoon again, Ellen Harris. We're amenable to those conditions.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? Staff? All right. Any citizens who want to speak on this one? Okay. Go ahead.
Cole's motion to approve staff's recommendation with the included conditions.
Plunk second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Coles?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Notrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Wywoody?
Yes.
And I too say yes. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
again.
Thank you for your time.
All right, our final agenda item is a master plan amendment, Bradley Point South, 24-003452-plan.
Afternoon, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Brad Clement. I'm from the Development Services. Every stage of this meeting, we finish up with a PUD, and it's always me. This is a PUD. The subject property is off of Highway 17. It's close proximity to the Botanical Gardens, if you're familiar with where that chunk of ground is, headed out of town on 17. Bradley Boulevard is the connector street onto 17. This PUD was established in 2001, and this represents the final phase. It will be done. You will never have another discussion on Bradley Point South ever again. The concept for this and the rationale for moving with a master plan amendment is listed here if you would like to read that. It's a little tough English to get through. But the intent was to change the lot characteristics of the pre-programmed single-family detached dwelling units that were always meant and intended to finish out this PUD. Over the years, there's been some wetlands migration which caused a deformity, and what was originally planned was 50-foot lot sizes. And so the developer decided that they were going to change that. You can see this in the brown area here. You can't go by the number of lots pictured here. This is not the scale. This is notional, just simply indicates the flavor of single-family detached that was going to be there. To what you see here in the cyan, which is a more narrow 34-foot lot that was approved for this PUD back in 2015 for that amendment. And so to get the complete segment of Bradley Boulevard and working around the wetlands here, the lot size was changed, and the final build-out will include 31 of those houses type. 31 lots, and this thing is done. And they get a road. So all those words that you saw in the narrative explaining what's actually happening, 31 lots, and they get the road, and the PUD is done. And I mention that because there was a little bit of staff tripping out of the gate when this was first advertised. The signs went out, and the mailers went out, and some of those things indicated we were talking apartments and commercial. That is not the case. We had since changed out the signs. We had made contact with the property management, answered the phones, and tried to put the word out. Some residents updated Facebook. So the notification was retracted and got out. But if there are still lingering questions, I'm happy to speak to that and explain and apologize for how that happened. Final, staff is suggesting approval of the requested master plan amendment if a master plan amendment is indeed required. This being such a minor change to complete the PUD, it's unclear, but it was the developer's choice to move forward with a master plan amendment so that everything could be heard in a public forum and questions could be answered. Pending your questions.
Very quickly. Single-family residential lots,
Yes.
34
attached.
feet wide.
34 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Neil McKenzie, Coleman Company. Brad explained that very well. The point of this is we had a wetlands call in this last phase. We did have a lot of wetlands change in that area, so we lost some lot yields. In order to get the yields back up to what we had originally planned, we chose to go with these smaller lots, which is cottage lots, and that's the point of this master plan amendment.
All right, thank you.
Glad to answer
Are there
your
any
questions.
questions for staff or for the applicant? Okay.
I just want.
Go ahead.
What I see it says there's been an 86 unit reduction. Just for the sake of clarity, Can you state what the original count was and the new count?
Yes, sir. So the original master plan and subsequent amendments were approved at 1,028.
Okay.
The build-out will be 942
Okay.
at the end of the day.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Anything else? All right, I do have a couple of speaker cards. Brittany Chapman, Bethany Chapman, sorry. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Bethany Chapman. I do live in Bradley Point South. I'm here today because it was my understanding that the developer was attempting to rezone this area as a commercial development. That is what the sign said and what the notices that we received said as well. Myself and I believe several other members of the community are concerned about the future implications of this. I live in this neighborhood. The developer does not. The moral of the story is, from my understanding, they want to make as much money off of this as possible. And I don't blame them, but I feel that it would be best for the residents of the neighborhood if this were not developed commercially.
You did hear that the
I
plan
did.
is actually for single-family residential.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what
Thank
we're
you.
voting on.
Okay.
Thank you. And Trevor Foltz? No comment? All right. Anybody else? Is there anyone online? You have a question?
The question's for staff. How did we get to a point where we were misadvertising it? Because we really try to avoid doing that.
We just got someone now raising their hands.
Okay.
We actually got two people.
All right.
There's one Zoom user. There's no name, so.
Can we get the answer first, and then we'll go back to
Sure.
our speakers?
Yes, the narrative that I showed you, and I really wish I hadn't shown this to you, is very dense in the language, and it references specific versions of the master plan through the iterations. The original master plan did include apartment uses and commercial uses. This particular track 7, was never going to be commercial in any iteration of the master plan. So in the reading of this and the publication of this, when we submit the notices, the city makes the signs, and it's based on an interpretation. And so it was a miscommunication and misunderstanding of what we were referencing changing in a master plan, because again, this was teed up as a master plan amendment. And to the layman, it doesn't look like we're changing much, if anything, at all. And so that's where it was. But as soon as that went out, the phone started ringing, as you can imagine, and we got to the bottom of that, and we got it corrected in plenty of time to meet notification requirement, reached out to individuals in the neighborhood. Apparently they have a Facebook post neighborhood thing where they did everything that we possibly could to put out that fire that we created.
So the signage and the notices went out from the city?
Yeah, the city is responsible for making those, but we could have communicated more clearly in terms of the information that we conveyed. In the future, we will not leave their interpretation of what we meant up to them without circling back around. This is what we said. What did you hear?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that what we hear piece written? Because perhaps that would.
I'm sorry.
No, I said, was that what we hear piece, is that part written? Because perhaps recommended language for a sign might be advantageous.
So, from our offices, we prepare the notice, the mailers.
Right.
All right, and then there's a separate, so that the city actually creates the physical signs.
Okay.
Ms. Helms?
Come on, there we go, Madam Chair. Yes, ma'am. I just wanted, Sally Helm, I just wanted to clear this up for Brad and for everybody that's listening. As he stated with the form that's showing on the screen now, there was a little bit of confusion when that public notice for the Savannah Morning News was done. The city does make the signs, but they get that language and that information from the public notice that's sent over from the Savannah Morning News. There was a typo in that. And it was not caught until the sign was posted. I do have a copy of the 305 mailers that were sent out. That error was not made in the mailers. With the phones immediately started ringing off the hook, understandably. That's how we knew there was an error made. Within 48 hours, that was completely corrected. Neil and his team came out. We had all new signs made and posted. As Mr. Clement stated, he did call and speak to the HOA to clear it up. So it was a clerical error in the beginning with that Savannah Morning News paper that did go over. So I don't want the blame to fall on the city, but it was corrected immediately, and to notify the mailers were correct, and there were 305 of those that went out.
Sounds like one of those cases where a story is told to one person and another person, and it changes as, changes as time goes on.
If we continue to talk about this, eventually it will be my fault, and I'll take responsibility now.
Thank you.
Better to have a better misunderstanding, though, where the community is pleasantly surprised that it was not what they were thinking.
All right, and we have two folks who are online who'd like to speak, and the first one is?
It's a Zoom user, if you don't have a name.
All right. A Zoom user. Is it Ms. Amick? Just a Zoom user. Would you like to go ahead and speak? Hello, Zoom user?
Somehow I'm able to hear it on my phone. It's not coming over here.
Hold on just a second. I think we've got technical difficulties, and we have someone going to help us with our technician.
In commercial, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Can you state your name again for the record, please?
My name is Eric Lewis. I'm also a resident of Bradley Point South. I am fully aware of the mix-up, so we won't have to go into that. My concern actually is two things. Number one, this past Saturday, we were victims of the flooding to a great extent that happened all over Savannah, but the flooding also knocked out two of our main exit roads out of the development. Bradley Boulevard was flooded for approximately 2 hours, and also Dunham's Street was flooded for approximately 2 hours, coming out of both of them out of the development that the developers currently of his new construction caused extensive flooding to both of those streets so that nobody could get out of the subdivision. Also, we're having traffic problems on Bradley Boulevard now at certain times of the day where you cannot get out of the subdivision, and it's backing up past Fire Station 12 at times where the fire department cannot get out of the fire station. So both of these are problems that probably are safety issues that probably need to be solved. But I know he needs to finish the plan, but the development that we have now has caused extensive safety issues in the subdivision with only one exit and with all of the stormwater that probably are issues that need to be addressed as well. So I just wanted to bring those up as issues that probably need to be addressed as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. This is not, unfortunately, the board that would handle that. It's always my concern when I see a subdivision that has one way in and one way out for those reasons that you just stated. We will try to find the correct route for you to take to address those issues, but as far as the development goes, I hear your concern about the added units. Fortunately for the development and there is an overall reduction of density rather than an increase or keeping it the same. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Oh, the other person has lowered the hand, so.
Has lowered their hand. All right, I guess we've answered their question. All right, any other questions or comments? Any discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Cole's motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Stevens, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Coles?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Nochika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Wywoody?
Yes.
And I too say yes, motion passes. All right, we have no other business. I think we are ready for adjournment.
Cole's motion to adjourn.
Second?
Stevens, second.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Thank you.
Recording stopped.